Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to this table talk with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. So you have seen the thumbnail, you have read the title. So we are going to get into some stuff that is probably considered a little bit maybe taboo, right? So what I'm going to outline here are just some points for you to think about for when you are having readings for yourself, when a family member kind of decides that they're going to sort of foray into this world, and also for yourself as a client, right? Something, some of these things are things to remember, and some of the things that I'm going to put out there are, a lot of this is basically my opinion, and this is formed over years of doing this work and how I kind of see it. Not everything that I say is meant to be agreed with. This is to give you kind of a loose framework from somebody who's been doing this for a long enough time, I believe, to have an opinion on such things. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here are 10 uncomfortable truths about tarot that tarot readers would love for you to know. All right, so the first one. The future isn't set in stone, right? Tarot readings are here to provide insight and guidance based on your current energies, where you're at this moment in time. And what I often say to my clients is the cards will show you where you're at this moment in time. And then obviously you use future spreads so that you can see what the likely outcomes are. If you've been working with me for long enough, if you've been on my tarot course, one of the things that I talk about is the cyclic nature of life and human beings. And one of, not the only, but one of the ways that we predict a potential future is by really tracking and looking at your cycle. And when you look at the cycle that we go through, when you can pinpoint exactly where you are on your personal journey, you can kind of say, okay, when the last time I was in a similar situation to this, what came next? So in a sense, you do kind of predict the future, but you also really read people's patterns. One thing that I have picked up over the years that I genuinely believe is when you shuffle the cards for a client, because obviously I work a lot over Zoom, or when a client will shuffle the cards for themselves, they are effectively, they're not taking them out of an order or out of a sequence, they're putting them into a sequence for that specific person's lifescape. So your choices and your decisions are going to influence what your outcome is going to be. And I often say this to people: if you do nothing, the cards will show you where you're at, what's happening for you in life at this moment in time. And if you do nothing, things will likely play out the way that they are. But your decisions, your choices, and your free will count for so much. And it's really, really important that you allow yourself to be empowered by that knowledge rather than hindered by it. 2, tarot is not a quick fix. This is not about putting a plaster or a band-aid on something. It's about really understanding how you got to a certain point, where you are at this moment in time, and where you might go from here. One thing that a lot of people tend to do is they will put all of their stuff and their expectation on the tarot reader. It's not up to us, right? It's not down to us to fix your life. It's not down to us to kind of have every single answer for you. Yes, we're here to provide you with answers, to provide you with guidance, to kind of, I like to see it as we're kind of like cosmic weather people, just like astrologers. We hold up a placard and we say, right, you're going that way and you need to take a left at the end, or this is where you've come from and this is where you are on the map. That's kind of what we do. So your personal growth, the work, the dedication that you put into improving your life, that's your stuff. You don't put that on your reader, whether they're a tarot reader, astrologer, numerologist, doesn't matter what the medium is. What really matters is we are not here to fix your life. We're here to show you where you're at, to help you understand that. But the commitment and taking the responsibility for your own life, that's all about you. Ultimately, life is a series of moments, right? And within that sort of scope, you have way more free will than people will ever kind of, not ever, but way more free will than a lot of people tend to sort of take on themselves. Now, speaking of free will, that's number 3. You have free will. You get to choose. You get to make your decisions. And so what you do with the information once we give you it, where you go from this moment in time, what you choose to embark on, to choose to accept, to do, to be, to have, to hold, all of the rest of it, that is all about you. And exercising your power of free will is exactly the same thing as saying, right, okay, this person has given me this information. I can do with it whatever I choose to. Your choices and actions are always a big part of what shapes your life. The cards, number 4. The cards are going to reflect a lot of your subconscious energies, trends and themes, which is one of the reasons I'm getting so much into strategy planning, using numerology and, tarot and astrology to help people charter a course that is actually tailored to who they are and what they need at this moment in time. It's one of the reasons I'm starting to shift the work that I do. It's another reason that I'm incorporating so much energy work in the work that I do, because very often our patterns, our cycles, our subconscious monkey mind, and all of our subconscious stuff is really running the show from the background. So when we clear that stuff at an energetic level, we've got a much clearer ground to plant in, right? Number 5. Tarot readers are not mind readers. Yes, many of us are very intuitive, very psychic. In fact, most people, right, whether you're an astrologer, a numerologist, a tarot reader, it's one of the reasons a personal reading from a person that they have written, that they are speaking to you, is so powerful and so much more accurate than the stuff that you kind of read online that's computer generated. Tarot especially is an intuitive art. It relies on the intuitive faculty. And for that reason, there is a lot of psychic and or intuitive energy involved in tarot reading. However, we are not mind readers. We're not here to access every single sort of pinpoint every single thing that you are thinking, that you are feeling. Sometimes those moments will happen. We get an energetic or an intuitive transference. That happens a hell of a lot. I've had so many people say to me in readings, like, oh my God, I was literally just thinking that yesterday, or oh my gosh, did you read my mind? And it's like, no, what we're reading is the cards, your energy, your patterns, your cycles. We understand those things really well. However, we are not mind readers, and we are not, we're not mind readers, basically. We don't know everything, right? We are literally just doing the most and the best that we can with what we have available to us. So we don't know every single detail, and it's really kind of unfair for you to assume that we do, all right? So just something to be mindful of. 6, tarot cannot solve all of your problems. Why? Because there is a big responsibility that lies with you. Once you have the reading, what you do with that information is what's going to shape your life from here on in. Now, it is a form of professional advice. It's not therapy, although there are a lot of tarot readers out there that have, diplomas and stuff in counseling and therapy and stuff, and the two work really, really well in hand. But we are, as I said earlier, we're not here to fix all of your problems, and we can't solve all of your problems, because a lot of the stuff that needs to be worked on or to be cleared has to be done from inside, from within you. So this is about really taking responsibility and saying, okay, this isn't necessarily the problem solve, but it is going to help me understand how I got to this point and where I might be able to go from here. I would also say as well, it's, yes, your counselor, your tarot reader, and it's true to say, right? As a tarot reader, you're kind of everything rolled into one. However, as tarot readers, it's important for us to hold our boundaries and to say, this is my skill set and it goes to here. Beyond that, I can't help you, which is why we always say, and it's not just about disclaimers so that we don't get sued, it's about having the heart and the integrity and the human emotion and decency to be able to say, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a therapist or a financial advisor. All I can give you is the level of skill that I have. Excuse me. All of that will have been shaped by my own life experience, right? But I know what my strengths and my weaknesses are. I know what my boundaries are. And it's unfair for clients to expect, sometimes people ask questions and you think like, okay, well, I just have to tell you, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a financial advisor, but here's what the cards are saying, and this is what I'm, being guided to tell you. So it's important, yes, that we hold our boundaries as professionals, but it's just as important for you not to expect from your reader what they can't really give you unless they are qualified. Tarot, astrology, numerology, any of these arts are not a replacement for good medical advice. They are not a replacement for therapy or counselling. They can assist those things, absolutely, and actually enhance the results that you get from those things, but they are not those things. It's really important to know that. Number 8, timing is not always precise. Oh my gosh, honey. Timing, and it doesn't matter, again, across the board, timing is one of the hardest things to get right with your predictions. It really is, and there are so many reasons for this. One, as I said earlier, the future isn't necessarily set in stone. Everything exists in a potential, and our choices and the past and the decisions that we make and take are going to shape that. Now, timing in tarot reading, it can be really tricky, to be completely honest with you, and I can give you a really good example of this. So this is probably in the definitely in the early days. It was within the first year and a half of Radiant Reality being out there in the world. I remember doing a reading for a lady, and I said to her, she asked a specific question, and the specific question was, do I wait to have a baby? And it was a family member was asking this on her behalf. So, her parents said, my child is basically saying that she wants to go through the IVF route because she feels like she's never going to meet anybody and her time is running out. So I did the reading. And I said to her, please, if you want to go down that route, obviously it's your choice, please go ahead. But what I can tell you is, without a doubt, around this time in June, you will be meeting a Cancerian man who you will end up having a child with. You may end up having 2 children, but they'll be quite far apart in their timing or the age of gap of the children. So I gave, I sent the reading off, lovely, beautiful, and I get the response. This was 2 years later. She said, I think it was actually almost 2.5, maybe 3 years later, and she said to me, everything that you predicted came true. My daughter met a wonderful Cancer man who she's now married to. They're really happy. They just had their first child. And I want you to know that they did meet in June and everything transpired, but you were like literally 2 years out in terms of the, when it was happening. Now, I found that really interesting because it's like, okay, cool. I thought it was next June, right? And I've had so many moments like that as I've grown in proficiency and got better and studied more and deepened my connection to my intuition, trusted tarot more and had him trust me in return. Yes, I personify tarot. That's how I see it. I have a working relationship with what I perceive to be a really wonderful friend. But timing, the more I've grown, the much better I've got at it. And, now people say to me like, oh my gosh, like how did you get this to within sometimes days? And that all comes with time and with practice. But timing is one of the hardest things to get right when it comes to tarot. It's not like astrology where you have a clock to look at, right? A lot of the time it's symbolism, a lot of intuition and divine guidance. So tarot and timing it's a tricky one, but if you do want to learn, obviously I will be running courses of tarot, and timing in tarot is one of the things and techniques that I teach. Number 9, tarot readings are subjective, right? So interpretations, we could pull 100 tarot readers off of YouTube, lay out just 3 cards in, a sequence, and each one of those readers would give you There might be trends and themes and sort of buzzwords that come up amongst all of them for sure. But they would give you 100 different interpretations because every single human being is different. Every single person's intuition works specifically and in line with their makeup, mental, emotional, psychological, physical, their upbringing, their background, their heritage, their religion, their spirituality. There's so much that goes into making a human being, and so therefore the interpretation of the cards is likely to vary quite a lot. I mean, there are some things that we agree on sort of universally. If someone pulled the Sun card and started talking about how death, destruction and mayhem was going to occur, I would be a little bit weirded out. I would be kind of a bit like, yeah, something's awry here or something's a bit amiss. But a mindful thing to be sort of, or something to be mindful of, right? Number 10. Self-reflection is absolutely key. This is really, really important because when you look at yourself, your patterns, your habits, your cycles, your unconscious things, or when, you know, sometimes when people say things to you and you're like, oh my gosh, do I do that? Oh, that's horrid. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about understanding what your hang-ups are, what your conditioning and your heritage and your familial ties and your upbringing and your social conditioning has created within you. When you understand yourself at that deep level through journaling, introspection, meditation, whatever the medium might be, the power, you start to understand that the power of your life really does rest in your hands, the decisions that you make and the actions that you take. Now, this is really important because one of the points that I mentioned earlier, right, when I talked about, you know, some people will take your readings and they will absolutely action the shit out of them. And, you know, I've got 3 clients in particular. When we do like a numerology tarot session, we map things out, right? We say, right, this is what the next 3 or 6 months looks like. And they like, when I see the stuff that they're launching, that they're putting out, I'm like, damn, they are working with their cycles. They understand, okay, you've given me the framework, I now have to build the whole thing out. And that is really how it works. That's how people really succeed with this stuff. Some bonus things to remember, things that your tarot reader probably really dislikes. When you have a reading with somebody, your energy system opens up, your intuition opens up, that person's energy system and their intuitive energies will open up as well. And so what's really important to know here is that when you've got somebody else in the room or when you've got somebody else on the call, that person's energy is going to start to seep into your reading. You paid for that. You're wasting your time, your effort and your money, and you're unnecessarily taxing the energy system and intuition of your reader, because a lot of us are very sensitive. So we're going to start to pick up stuff from that person. And so when it comes through and you're like, the person's like, you know, and it's your reading and you say, well, actually that doesn't resonate with me. I've had this happen before where a lady actually emailed me and she said, I'm really sorry. Some of the stuff that came through, my friend was actually on the call. We just wanted to see, you know, what was coming up. And I was like, yeah, I had a feeling that that might be the case, right? And a lot of the stuff that came through was for the other lady. And so I was like getting all these weird mixed messages thinking, what the hell is going on? My energy system's like, we don't like it, what's going on? So just something to be mindful of, because obviously we can feel that and it may throw off the information that we are actually able to give you. Another thing to be mindful of as well is the spirit in which you come to the reading, right? Most people come and they'll be very open and they'll say like, you know, this is kind of what I want to focus on or whatever. For me personally, I don't let my clients, well, this is when I did specific types of readings, which I don't do anymore. But I used to say to people, I don't want to hear a word from you until I've finished reading. Once I'm done, then you can connect the dots for me so that we can then sort of unpick it and then look at the next spread so that we can see where you're going from here. And the reason for that is I don't want what I say or what I pull from my intuitive faculty to be colored by what you've already told me. This is one of the things that I believe sets certain readers apart. Some will sit there and ask you a million questions before they actually do any reading. And it's like, well, okay, you know, and everyone's way is their way. But for me personally, it's like, if I've just given you a whole bunch of information, you haven't actually told me anything that you intuitively picked up. And it's really hard to discern then, is this just stuff that you're parroting back to me based on what, you know, the cards are now looking like, which is one of the reasons, if you've had a reading with me, I want you to keep it stum. Keep stum until I'm done, and then we talk about it once I've given you all the information that comes in. Now, my way is not for everybody, you know, and these are just considerations to have. And like I say, that energy of intention, how you come to the reading, if it's, well, I'm just going to sit here and test you and I'm just going to do, like, okay, cool, no problem. If that's how you want to spend your time, your money and your energy, go for it. That's, you know, ultimately it's your choice. However, remember that the other person on the other side of the screen, the other side of the table, the other side of the cards is a human being. All right. So there you have it. 10 uncomfortable tarot truths that most tarot readers, certainly the decent ones, yeah, I said it, would have you know. All right. Let me know in the comments, did you like this table talk? I'm going to be bringing you a few of these, and hopefully some of them will really get some good, healthy conversation and debate going. If you want one of these from the client perspective, let me know, because obviously, having been a reader, I've also had many tarot readings myself. So let me know in the comments. I wish you all an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic time. Take care, and I will see you soon.